Hey, and welcome to another episode of NLP Upskill Your Life with myself, Mark, and Rich, and Finton should be joining us shortly. So, how you doing, Rich? How's it going? All good?
Yeah, good, Mark. Very good. Thanks
Yeah,
yourself. What
yeah,
are you been up to?
yeah. One of them stressful days for yourself as well. So we're going to talk about stress today, aren't we?
Very apt, mate. Yeah, very apt.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, one of them days can happen to us all, can't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
situations happen out of your control, and it depends how you deal with that.
yeah,
Whether you
yeah.
let it get to yourself or you just go, "Well, what's happened now? There's not much I can do about it."
Mm. What episode is this? This is episode 14, isn't it?
14. Yeah.
14. Well, hey, I got to write this one. Yeah. But so what have you been up to since our last podcast yourself, Rich?
Just working and figuring things out, and yeah, pardon on, mate.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll probably start off like so stress can happen in a lot of ways, really, can't it? Like, with day-to-day life and um like just like it just can come like it can all kind of build up, can't it? Like can all kind of build up, and
Yeah,
sometimes you just have to there's lots of great ways to deal with it, like with breathing, and NLP is a great way to deal with it as well.
yeah. So going back to the analogous caveman or hunter-gatherer type, when we were living that existence in most of the West so-called civilized world, when we come across a threat, that was only there for that period of time. That could be a matter of minutes or hours, maybe a couple of days.
Mm.
Then that threat would go away, and we would go from a high arousal level down to back to a normal base level and be able to cope with that. With it, in most of today's society, it's a whole constant thing of going into traffic, meetings. What's my boss going to say to me today? Bills. Can I pay my bills this month? Can I pay this that month? That is just a constant drip on people, and
Yeah.
we really can't escape that. And so people have higher levels of stress
Mm.
today than what they would have done however many hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah. And like, what kind of mechanisms do you use to deal with stress yourself, Rich?
It's mostly breathing and do my best not to worry about situations that I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you had a kind of an episode today with your
Oh, a little bit,
with your
Mark,
man.
but as I said, that's beyond my control, mate.
Yeah.
So just get on and deal with it, and
Mm.
not a lot I can do about it. So yeah,
Yeah, like that's a great point, because like there's a lot of stuff that isn't in our locus of control that you can't deal with, and a lot of people are bombarded with it, like watching the
constantly.
news 24/7 and all that kind of stuff, and you have to deal with what you can deal with.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And I know there's a few people who have stopped watching the news completely. Seem
I'm
as
one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what's the point of adding to your own stress level? And as somebody did say to me once, is if something seriously bad's going on, you're going to know about it one way or another, and the rest is just trivia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do
Exactly.
you find you deal with stress, then, Mark?
Well, as you know, like I do a good bit of running. It's great to
Mm-hmm.
have like an outlet like that for people who are listening
Yeah.
to, be it running or sports. Or myself personally, I love to go out for a run, and I find it's great. I was only talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying that like they were trying to give up smoking, and I said to them, like, like we were talking to them before in the show there about habits, like I think, and about like habits and values, and not like values, and you know you can easily replace a habit, you know
Yeah.
like just say you've got an addiction, and that's not addiction, a habit of smoking, don't call it
Mm-hmm.
an addiction. By replacing a habit, it's easier by putting something good in its place. So like I used to work in a job myself, in customer services, and we were bombarded with phone calls the whole time. And what got me interested in one was getting out of that situation for an hour,
Yeah.
Just to go for a run was great, and it helped me deal with any stress. Like the other day, I was kind of feeling a bit low, and going up for that 5 mile run, it really kind of lifts you. You know,
Hmm.
lifts your mood and your that's basically what I use to deal with stress a lot.
Yeah, that's a good plan, Mark. Bit of exercise helps clean out all the system and gets you out and reassesses.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you don't really have to think about anything for that period of time, do you?
no, like, and like I say, you're like that with the bike as well. Like, how do you
Right.
find when you get out on the bike?
Yeah, yeah,
Any kind of exercise is great for it, isn't it?
definitely, mate. Yeah. And what I was reading an article the other day is a lot of organisations have employee assistance programs.
Mm,
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the one particular organisation, but they have, if I remember rightly, something like 80,000 people on their books through various different companies.
mm.
And they are now acting as crisis lines. And this is
Okay.
UK alone, so they are dealing with child and adult safeguarding. They are having to deal with people who are threatening to jump off bridges and stuff like that, and people who are overdosing. And this is kind of how critical mental health and mental well-being has got in the workplace, simply
Yeah.
because things, I'm guessing it's things like KPIs, poor management, the stress of coming in and delivering whatever they've got to deliver. And maybe they're thinking, why am I here doing this job? So I remember, if I remember rightly, there was a study where they asked how many people enjoyed what they do. And it's in the region of 70-75% of people actually hate their jobs. And
Mm.
you wonder why there's this mental health and well-being crisis going on.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
And sorry, Mike, and in the UK alone, mental health well-being costs 56 billion.
wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah, and that's why it's so important, really, to kind of, if you are feeling under stress, to talk, to don't hold on inside.
Yeah.
Like, it's important to kind of share. Your a problem shared is a problem halved. You know, like a lot of men would just let it all bottle up inside. There wouldn't be, they think, they think they're the strong part of the relationship, or whatever it is. If we're
Hmm.
talking about husband and wife, they don't like show as much as maybe a woman might do. Like,
Quite possibly, yeah. Yeah. And I think that's possibly a cultural thing as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, there's two different forms of stress, Mark, or what are considered different forms of stress. You come across eustress.
Hmm.
You come across that?
What's it called? Sorry.
Eustress, EUSTRESS.
No, I
So
haven't. No, what's that?
that's basically good stress, or considered to be good stress. So you could think of it this way: is if you're, say, you're going, what distance do you run?
Well, it varies. Like, I did 6 mile today.
Okay.
Yeah,
What what time do you do for a 6 mile?
I'll probably do around about 6 mile, about 50 minutes, 50 there,
Okay, cool.
50 on. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So you average out on your weekly 6 mile run, say you do 50 minutes, and then you decide in like 3-4 days' time, you're going to do that run in 45 minutes. Yeah.
yeah.
So then you're stretching yourself, get out of your comfort zone.
Hmm.
And then you go, yeah, I know I can do 45 minutes now in that run. Then you go back to maybe 50-minute or 52-minute run. And then that's going back into a bit more of a comfort zone area. Yeah. Then again, you do your 45-minute run. Yeah. So you're pushing those boundaries and stretching them, but you're not stretching to the point of where you're going, right, every day, right, I've done a 45-minute run. I got to do the following day, 44-minute run, a 43-minute run, a 40-minute run. And then the whole thing will break down because you're just beating yourself up over trying to get faster and faster times instead of going, I've done that now. I can relax a bit more. Then I can go back to
Mm.
doing it a bit more. Then I can relax a bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That makes
Um,
perfect sense. Yeah.
So that's eustress, is where you go out and do something, push yourself, push those boundaries a little bit, then go back to your comfort zone and push them a wee bit more. Whereas what I was doing is, like, the other one really should be determined distress. And that would be, you do your 50-minute run, then suddenly go and do a 45-minute run, then go down 44-minute, 43, 42, 49, so on, until you eventually burn yourself out, because physically you can't run any quicker anymore. And any time you notice your times start getting slower.
Yeah.
And you'll be going to get frustrated with yourself because you want to run quicker. And that leads to more injury and then more time out from being able to exercise.
That's great. That's a great point for anyone listening, Rich. Yeah, thanks for that, because it makes so much sense. Like, because if you keep trying to lower it, like you've made it to 40, and then you can do it, but don't do it all the time. But maybe the next, do it for a while, do the 50, and then go back and try and better that again in a couple of weeks. Would you suggest that?
Well, it depends on how you feel and what you want to be doing. But the point is push yourself, go back to your comfort zone for a bit, push yourself, come back to your comfort zone a bit, and not constantly pushing out the comfort zone or pushing that point to then break. It's like the elastic band, isn't it? If you keep stretching, it'll go back to its normal state. If you keep pulling it and pulling it and pulling it, it eventually snap, won't it? That's exactly similar to people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the same kind of thing for anything, really, isn't it? Like, the same kind of, you can kind of map that across for any kind of walk of life, any
absolutely
things that happen. Yeah.
How do you? So quite a common one for people is driving. Any suggestions how you deal with being stuck in traffic?
Well, I did hear of
driving.
It'd be interesting to hear your one as well, because you got a lot of people that get very stressed out in the car, but I don't really. I just kind of, what's the big worst thing that can happen? You're stuck in a red light for 10-15 minutes. It's not gonna, nobody's gonna die or anything like that, but I heard for people that do, get stuck in traffic, was a really good one I heard before, was, imagine you're stuck there and you can't move, you can't leave where you live. But you're not actually stuck. You will be able to eventually move. I thought that was a good analogy, where you imagine you could never leave here again, but you eventually can, So I just thought that's a very good one, if you are feeling like that, because it's. I remember a couple of years back, I was down on holiday for a weekend, and there was this guy, and I don't know, they were beeping out. Like, this guy was in front of me, was holding him up, and the man got out of the car, I'm not joking, and hit him such a merciful thump in the head, you could hear the clatter, people can get so enraged with with road rage, And what do you reckon the best way to deal with road rage for anybody that's experiencing yourself?
Is you could always think of, is that person, are they in a rush to get to a hospital for an appointment? Is there a family emergency? That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And you yourself can always go, this is a time for me just to slow down a little bit, increase that distance between those cars to save, a bit of defensive driving, really. And just breathe and think, how can I be safe on that road? It's quite amusing. It's a bit similar to what you were saying, Mark, is I was with a friend of mine. We're going to visit my cousin over in London Way, where he used to live. Anyway, so he didn't really know the roads that well, so he got stuck in the traffic, and he was in the wrong lane, pulled over to the other lane, and this lady behind him started beeping her horn and all that at him. Anyway, so the lights turned to red, and she was there beside us, and he was up to her, smiling and waving. She didn't know where to look for herself.
Well, he changed her like she didn't expect that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. She's like, oh,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that. I was expecting to have gone, I suppose. And
Mm.
I guess the other thing is, if you know you've got a journey, maybe leave a bit earlier.
Mm.
If you're expecting bad traffic, is give yourself more time because you're going to get there at some point.
Great point. And I
Yeah.
did hear as well before, Rich, and I probably heard something like this before. There was just say, for instance, there's always someone in a queue in Tesco or in the supermarket, and they're going mad to because the lady's taking her time. Maybe she's only new in the job,
No,
or she's finding her feet to
they
on
will
the
shop at
till.
Aldi or Lidl then, mate.
No, no.
They just throw it at you.
But yeah, exactly. But you know what I'm saying? Like they're queuing up and they're getting all annoyed about
Yeah,
having to wait so long. And then this guy I heard he went up and he was ahead of her in the queue and says, "No, you go ahead. You go ahead. It's okay. You've got more time than me."
Mhm.
And it made you think, "Oh, why did I lose the head?" Like after switching the move completely by
Yeah.
letting him or her to go ahead, and that way it changes there. Like they felt like foolish. Oh, I kind of feel bad now, for for losing the head. Oh, that's okay. That's fine. And he gives a big smile, and they change the state.
Yeah, I like that. That's quite good.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think what other people with cars as well, and possibly with shop assistants, is people that look at them or car drivers. People aren't looking at them as human beings.
Mm,
They just see
yeah,
someone there or just see that metal object, and that's their root, their frustration, maybe.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. No, because I heard that before as well. Like there was a sales guy, and like I think I read in the book, that book was talking about before, how
Cialdini.
to win friends, how to win
All right.
friends and influence people. Carnegie,
Oh, yeah.
and Dale Carnegie, and he was talking about somebody that he had a big contract with this supermarket or wherever it was for. He was going the whole time there, and whatever happened, they said, look, we don't need it anymore. We don't need your product anymore. So this guy used to go in every day and he'd say hello to everybody, be it the shop assistant or
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
person cleaning the floor. Just always go out of the way and talk to them and the whole lot. Like always, just have a little chat with them, like just to get some people that go in and they don't even acknowledge them, like you said. And they went back. He went back and to the manager later on that evening just to try one more time. And he said, "Look, I appreciate I've been coming here for the next last year or two, and I like your staff." And he was about to leave. He said, "Thank you very much for your being for being a customer, a good customer of ours." And he was about to leave, and he called me back. No, no, come here. We want to order more stock for you from you. I
Hmm.
says, "Why is that?" Because after you left earlier on, all my shop assistants came up and said, he's the nicest salesperson that ever comes in here. All the rest of them come in and they wouldn't have the time of day for you, and just
Yeah.
shows you that by having that relationship with people, it's a really good point, like really good
Hmm.
point in the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Treat people. Yeah. Treat people well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So going back to
Sorry, yes, sorry for putting me. I
sorry,
was kind of
that's right,
off the
mate.
point a bit there.
Oh,
Yeah. Mm.
yeah. So going back to about stress and all that sort of stuff. So we got the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. Yeah, so that's the nervous system and how we breathe and that kind of stuff. So we're in a high state of arousal, then we're more in a sympathetic nervous system. That's the fight, flight, and all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
And obviously, so it always goes in a little wave up and down. And then we're in less in that rest and digest, which is the parasympathetic system. But when we're more in a relaxed state, that we're more in that parasympathetic of the rest, digest, relaxation kind of mode, and less that fight, flight, and freeze. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when you're recognizing in which state of arousal you're at is a really good thing to go, okay, it's time to take a step back from here and reevaluate how I'm assessing the situation, because with the brain, you got the like reptilian brain and the mammalian brain, and they got the frontal cortex and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So when we're in a highly stressed or highly aroused state, there's actually less blood flow going to the frontal cortex. So that then makes us have decision making is really bad. Yeah, because nobody's ever made a good decision when they're angry, have they? Or when they're upset.
No.
Or, yeah. So when you're recognizing or beginning to recognize that you get into a really upset state, it's maybe a good time to go, right, I need to really evaluate, reassess, take a step back, and then go from there to look at how you can improve that situation. It may take a day or two to go back and recognize that.
Yeah, that's a great point, because you know the way they say disassociate as well.
Mm-hmm.
If just say you're having an argument, or you know, if just say you're having an argument with a spouse or whatever it is, it's good to kind of, if you can, it's not that easy all the time. Like it's easier said than done.
No.
But if you're kind of, if you can step back and see yourself having that argument, like, you know, and kind of see it from the other person's point of view, what you're doing. Like, you can't actually change anybody, but you can change yourself. So so that will change them by you changing whatever's making these people react the way they are.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, be more empathetic towards that person's situational position.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know if you've read one of Mike Mandel's recent emails.
What was that? No, I didn't see it.
So he and Mike and his wife went off to like a family meeting or family kind of relationship therapist type. So this guy, he was coaching people, and apparently he wasn't doing a very good job, because he was getting this couple who were going through a really bad relationship. He got them out in front, and he got the husband to say whatever he was saying, but the wife was responding with, "So what you're saying is," so she was never really listening to what he was saying. So that got him even more frustrated, and apparently that caused a massive argument. So he had to pull those people off, and they were sitting like 6 foot apart, and they probably got divorced at the end of that conference. So what Mike Mandel was saying in his email was about just paraphrasing or a little bit rephrasing of what that person was saying. So it might be that person has a whole sentence, but they say, I'm very frustrated at the moment. And you reply, so you are frustrated. Yeah, or you are feeling stressed now. So you talk back to them, and that helps get better communication between the two people.
Yeah. Very good. Because another one, that's a great point, because you know the way sometimes as well they can have 2 chairs or 3 chairs, isn't it? Where they you know, for you know, where they can, in hypnosis they can do that as well, where the other person is sitting in the wife's chair and listening this association as well, of what they're saying and how they could change it, change it to have less argument. It's like, I don't know if you remember this part as well that springs to mind, where you can put yourself in like a theater or a cinema, and you're watching the main show, and an interval comes on, and the curtain opens again, and it's the 2 people, himself and his wife, let's say, arguing on the television or on the screen, or the play, and he gets to go up to the play and changes what he's saying to disarm the argument, and he kind of plays it out, and he can keep changing it to suit the way he wants it to happen. And it's really, really powerful to be able to do that, to kind of, you know, and then the next time like for instance, if they come in, you give a smile, like, or how's your day, and sometimes he's on the screen, he's saying like he doesn't even say hello, so he can change that, which sounds great. I haven't tried it myself, but I haven't given it a go, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah, good idea, Mark. Yeah, get a different perspective on what situation is you're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. And what about fly, fight, or freeze? What's your opinion on that yourself?
So right, that again goes back to the times of the caveman, and so all stems in the amygdala.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah.
two little things somewhere in the middle of the back of the brain, middle back of the brain somewhere. That is actually the the center of emotional discrimination.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So my limited understanding is that we discriminate emotionally is in this: are we under attack? Do we need to run away? Or are we going to fight here? Or are we going to freeze? Or are we going to fawn? Which is obviously fall down, playing dead as well, which a lot of people don't know about as well.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Right. Yeah. So I was basically just saying there, that there's kind of, oh God, I've lost my train of thought now. Sorry. Yeah, like you kind of deal with different types of people in day-to-day life all the time, like with terms of people that are the aggressors and people that are very passive as well. Like so like, we all kind of feel, everybody that's human, I think, would feel fear in some way. I'm sure you agree with me. Like,
Yeah.
even though, but it doesn't show sometimes when people, you get the aggressors who seem to be never afraid to start a fight, or they just seem to go all in. What do you think, and what's your opinion on that, lads?
They're better at dealing with it. So they dealt with more situations with that kind of thing. And I can't remember the name of the guy, I'm sure he's from Greece. So he says, out of 100 men, I can't remember the exact figures are, 80 shouldn't be in the fight. 10 of them, yeah, they do okay. 9 of them, they're there to make the fight. But there's one, and he makes the battle. Yeah. So it's an analogy of, you could look at it, sheepdogs and a wolf. So most of the population, people consider them to be sheep, and then there's the sheepdogs, who are people such as, say, the firemen, police officers, those kind of folk. And then there's the obviously wolves, who could be considered as a criminal element.
Yeah, no, you're welcome tonight, Finton. By the way, welcome. Sorry you're a bit late tonight, but it's great to talk to you again.
Thanks very much. Sorry I'm late.
No problem.
I'm looking forward to the rest of it. Yeah.
And I don't know if you come across the ultradian rhythms.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, so we got circadian rhythm, which is about body clock and waking up. The ultradian rhythm, that works on like a 90-minute cycle, and after about 20 minutes, it resets after every 90 minutes. So, for argument's sake, is when you wake up in the morning and you have a really good day, and you got that stress bucket. Yeah, so this is the ultradian bucket. So when you wake up and you have a really good morning, your bucket is quite low down. Yeah, so you got more and more to fill up. There's more room. But if you wake up in the morning and you go and stub your toe at the end of the bed and go, bang your head on an open cupboard and all that sort of stuff, then that level is a lot higher. So when you're going through that cycle, the ultradian rhythm, depends on where that starts, depending on where stress levels are, or the perception of stress level. So the more you've used up, the longer it takes to reset. Yeah, so the less you've used, the longer it takes to reset, whereas the more you used up, the quicker. Yeah. Carry on going with that part.
All right. So what you're saying is, the more stressed you get, is it? The quicker it resets.
No, you got less in there to reset, isn't
All
it?
right.
So
Okay.
the quicker it fill up. So think of a stress. Think of a bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're starting off at low stress point, there's a lot more to fill up
Yeah.
before you blow your top, kind of thing. But the higher it is on your bucket, the less room there is before that spills over.
Right.
Before the water spills
Okay.
over.
I like that. Yeah, very good. Yeah. So it's
So
kind of,
if you yeah, go on, Mark.
sorry,
Sorry.
Finn, go on. No, go on, Finn. Sorry.
All right. So just so that I understand what you're saying here, Rich. So what you're saying is, if I start off and I'm totally unstressed, and either not a lot of badly stressing things happen, or things that might be stress or happen, but I handle them well, then the bucket doesn't get very full.
Yeah.
But if either I don't handle them well or very stressful things happen, or a combination of both, then that bucket will fill, and eventually I'll do a Michael Douglas.
Yeah. You'll want to go find yourself a cheeseburger. Sorry, not
it's breakfast is over. Breakfast. This is breakfast. Yeah, or that doesn't look at like that on the thing. Remember, it was so funny. That was great, wasn't it?
So watch out, you local McDonald's.
Yeah. Okay. So so that's what you're trying to say. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. No, it's great. I really like that analogy. It's really good because it kind of tells people to try and keep stress at a minimum, because it can be very dangerous, as you know, like to stress. Like, I think a good, like, pressure is good to a certain extent, like you said earlier on, Rich, to kind of a good pressure, a bit of pressure, because nobody wants to be in a job where they're not challenged in any way. Like, it's good to have something that I think we spoke in another podcast before, Finton, where it's good to have something you're challenged with, like, but not stressed, but a good challenge is good.
Yeah. So there's two sides to this as well. Is got a bell curve. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like at the very pinnacle or near to the pinnacle, that's where your optimum zone is working out. That's what people call maybe the flow state.
Right. Yeah.
On one side, people can get what's called bored out. So they're not challenged enough. They go, what am I doing here? Why am I doing these simple tasks? I need to be. They've not got enough challenge in that job. Yeah, and that then leads to disinterest. That leads to people leaving work and whatever else. Then on the other scale of it, people who got burnout. That obviously then again leads to ill health and people leaving a job and all those other sort of things. So we can't always be in that flow state, but it helps to be somewhere near there to avoid that burnout and that bore out as well.
Right. So there is a type of stress, of course, that's actually very positive. It's good for you, which is the type of stress that gets you up in the morning, the type of stress that gets you to get dressed up and go out for the night with your mates, sort of thing. Because there are times when you might be there, you might be tired, and you might go, oh, I won't do it. And then you go, oh, do you know what? I'm really looking forward to this. I'm going to do this, So without any stress at all, we'd all just lie there. We'd never move. We'd never do anything.
Yeah.
So I suppose there is the positive stress. And there's the stress, like I was talking to a guy in work today, actually, about the job I used to do. And he's doing that job now himself, and he's part of the team. I was a part of that team a number of years ago. And just discussing the different, it's quite a stressful job, but it's a very interesting job, sort of thing. You're testing systems, you're testing fixes on the system, things like that, making sure that when they go into the live version of the system, they don't all crash. If you remember Ulster Bank there a few years ago, Mark, where what happened was some guy did a patch, put it into the live, wasn't tested, and he crashed the bank system for months.
Mhm.
It wasn't just wasn't just Ulster Bank, it was the entire RBS group, as far as I can
Yeah.
remember, Royal Bank of
Mhm.
Scotland. And I was actually, what happened was I ended up talking to a scout leader who also happened to be assistant analyst with Ulster Bank, and he was explaining to me what had happened. And I remember after that, I was there. I was always conscientious about what I was testing, because what I was testing for, the scheme I was testing for, like if stuff didn't go right on it, it was 250,000 people would be affected, but had no payments, you know.
Mhm.
So from that point of view, but that just kind of brought it home to me, the danger of allowing untested things in, or if things aren't tested properly, what can go wrong, you know. And we did come across stuff in testing that, with that said, I suppose the point is that I'm trying to make here is that it was stressful, but at the same time, it was interesting. It kind of kept you going, kept you a bit on edge. As long as it wasn't overly stressful, it didn't, wasn't too much for us. That was the important thing there, to keep that balance,
Yeah. And then I suppose it's a good point as well, for kind of ways to deal with stress. Like you said, it's never be afraid to kind of ask people for their help. People, because we all have like when you're working in a big place, there's people that would have talents, different talents than you or I would have, or so that's important as well. And as well, another
Very
good
true,
thing
yeah.
to remember as well is, for to kind of to alleviate your stress as well, because we all sometimes we might do a job we don't like we all kind of maybe do jobs that aren't that interesting, but ways to make them fun as well can alleviate the stress as well. If we probably will touch on ego states as well that we've done before. We don't even go back to, I think it's the first or second for people that are listening, episode we did on ego states. That can be really helpful as well. That I only learned from you guys a number of months ago. But there is ways like to make things fun can help alleviate stress. Any other pointers you think, lads, that you deal with that helps you day to day dealing with stress?
Well, actually, meditation is a big thing for me. And particularly, I listen to, probably a hypnosis download. So I have a number of them myself. One of the ones I try to listen to as often as possible, it would be probably Journey to the Castle, which is the Mike Mandel one. Because it's about half an hour. So it's kind of a nice time that it's not too long and it's not too short. He has another one that's 48 minutes, which I listen to on this one when I have a bit of time. But otherwise, yeah, the Journey to the Castle, it's great. But what I also do is I kind of I set my intention first, So I have a think about what is it that's at me at the moment, or what is important to me that maybe I'm not achieving, or am I overlooking something, So I just set my intention, and quite often I look for a balance in either some or all aspects of my life. So if there's some aspect of my life that's happening particularly, I look for a balance in that today. And if there's nothing in particular that's happening, then I look for a balance in all aspects. And what's interesting then is I allow myself to feel that balance in all different parts of my body, because I used to think that stuff that was in your mind is in your mind, it's in your head. What I discovered when I started doing the Thursday meetup with Orlando was that in fact it's in your body somewhere. There's lots of it is in your body. Some of it's in your head, but there's lots of it in other parts of your body. And being able to understand that and feel it, and it means then that I can, if something stressful happens to me, I can reprocess it almost immediately by feeling it where it is in my body. And I find that extremely useful. Yeah, that's really been a major eye opener. It's been a big
Good stuff,
change
yeah.
for me.
Brilliant, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you were mentioned before as well, Richard or Finton, about spinning the feelings. Isn't that right, Rich?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can do that, and that'll give a different perspective or different sensation on what you're going through that time as well. But what I was going to reflect on is what Finton was saying is about different areas of the body. and feeling those sensations. So you can ask yourself, maybe, where am I? You know, where am I in this situation? So am I feeling it in my knee? Am I feeling it in my chest somewhere? Where is this sensation in my body? So where's the I? Yeah, because some people, their I might be outside of themselves. Yeah, it may their I, they may not exist with that I. And so if you can recognize and form an identity, then that may help with dealing with that situation. And so if your I may be outside the body, you might want to bring that I back in.
Very interesting, yeah. Like, and how would you really do that for people who are listening? You know, would that work well, like in hypnosis or an NLP technique help with that? Do you think?
No, just ask yourself, and the subconscious will come up with the answer to it.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, yeah. Because even I remember hearing before as well, like you can use kind of getting off the subject a little bit, but you know, if you're got a headache or like anything like that, you can actually use the the VAK, the visual, auditory and kinesthetic, where it's auditory where the pain in your head is. So if you can take it out to a visual and you can change the color, be like just say what color it is. If it's red, if it's bright red, you can maybe change it to a green or a blue, you know, which is a less dramatic color. And if I haven't tried this myself, but then if you can put it back in your head, it's meant to alleviate the headache.
Yeah, I've heard of that. All right, and yeah, that's an excellent analogy there, because yeah, when you just reframe something, and as you say, change the color, particularly, it can help. Because after all, it's probably a kinesthetic. It may well be a kinesthetic thing, you know, the pain that you're having, or it may be an auditory thing. It might be in the ear or something like that, or it might be something that you're hearing. But as you say, take it out, change it to a visual, and then dull down the color. Because you can imagine red would be a piercing headache, whereas blue is nice and calm.
I suppose you could use that with stress as well, couldn't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Idea, yeah. That's pretty good. Not bad idea.
Yeah, because stress is a feeling. Like they're all feelings that it's finding out where the stress is, like you say, Rich, and like it makes sense. It's more of a kinesthetic thing, I'd say, because it's a feeling of stress, you know. So maybe changing it to one of the different VAKs.
Absolutely. Have either of you tried Navigator?
I haven't known. I've heard of it.
You have. It's one of Mike Mandel's things.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The Navigator protocol. Right. You should try this, Mark. Definitely. You'll find it. Basically, anyway, what you do is there's a few things you do. The first thing you do is you forgive everything. Right. Make sure you're holding no grudges, because if you start holding grudges, it can influence where you go, or you know, with your life, basically, or with your thoughts, all that sort of stuff. So getting rid of grudges is the most important thing. That's the first thing. But basically, then what it does is he runs a protocol where your body listens to what you have to physically say to it. Right? And actually, I was using this today. I used it to great effect today, and it's the first time I haven't used it in ages. And I just said one thing to myself. I thought, yeah, Navigator. So I went for a walk for 45 minutes, and I'd say for a good half an hour of that, I used the Navigator system. And I was absolutely delighted with everything that was happening, you know, with the effect it had. Like, for example, if you're feeling stressed, you might say to yourself, less stress, more peace, you know. And actually, the reason I thought of it was because I go to the river, and there's a weir at the river, right, which is basically like a big waterfall. And so there's a lot of rushing water. And they say that if you breathe out and put your hands out or whatever, at the water, and then just breathe out any stress or anxiety into nature, but particularly into running water. You can just breathe out any stress. So I'm going, it's got like this. And then as you breathe in, you can breathe in the positive energy, right? So, for example, one of the things was when you breathe in, you say, I'm at peace, and I'm breathing peace and breathe out stress, right? But I was thinking the way the navigator works is you would say less stress, more peace. So you'd say put the negative thing first, what you want to get rid of, and then the positive thing second. So I was going, okay, well, let's do this the opposite way then. So I say, I breathe out stress, I breathe in peace. And I did that for a few seconds, or for a minute or so. You know? And even just looking at the water is amazing. Like the sun was shining and it was kind of glistening off the water, especially the way the water was falling, was flowing, you know, and the noise of the water was great. So it was kind of like there was a visual effect, there was an auditory effect, and there was a kinesthetic effect as well. In fact, when the water is flowing like that, you can actually smell the water. I don't mean like the nitty. I mean the nice smell of water, you know, that it just maybe it's droplets that you're inhaling, whatever it might happen to be. But you can smell the water, you know, you can hear the water, you can see the sun glistening off, especially the white of it as it goes down over the fall, you know. And as I'm doing that, I'm becoming engaged with this, and I just feel the stress running straight out of me, you know. As I'm walking along, I'm trying to think of all the negative things, all the little things. It mightn't have to be big things, little things that I want to change. And it was amazing how it was working as I went. And I couldn't get over how well it worked. So I have to say, I would definitely highly recommend using that. And like once you've done the protocol once, you can just use it anytime you like. As you're walking down the road, as you're lying in bed, anything like that. Just go less stress, more peace, less anxiety, more happiness, whatever it happens to be. And it doesn't have to be the exact opposite. It can just be something to counter, something you'd like to get rid of, something you'd like to gain.
That sounds great, because I remember you did an audio on that before, Rich, which was really good for the group. I think it was something similar to that. It was I might be wrong. It's where you're saying, what's it again? Where you're remember the one you done? I can't remember the name of it, but you're saying that don't worry about now, don't worry about the past, don't worry about the future.
Oh yeah.
Just concentrate on now. Was that what it was called? The same thing, or what was that called again, Rich? Sorry.
There's one about the tantric master.
Oh, I can't remember, Mark.
Because you sent it to me there recently, Fintan.
Yeah, I listen to that every night. You know that? It's brilliant, Mark. Rich. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
I actually, what I did was I amplified it on my phone because it was quite low. And then what would happen is
class.
I you know what I did, right? I have it and then followed by Journey to the Castle. So I do that first.
Oh, very good.
And then Journey to the Castle. And there I was giving Mike Mandel all the praise, and I never mentioned Rich at all. Sorry about that, Rich. And I'm glad you did, Mark. I'm really glad you did.
I forgot I'd done that.
What's that?
I just the name escapes me. I'd love if you could share that with on the podcast sometime, Rich, if you, for the listeners.
No, yeah, I have to download it somewhere. I don't know where it is. Don't know the name.
No, I have it myself. We have it.
Oh, don't worry, it's on the group. It's on the Thursday group, so don't you worry about it, Rich.
There's a whole list. Right? There's a whole long list of stuff on there.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's absolutely great. But I think we're nearly touching an hour on the podcast. So we might wrap this up shortly if that's okay. And I'm sure we could do another. I'd say we've got loads more to talk about in relation to stress and ways to deal with it. But I really hope what we've mentioned can resonate with people out there. Because I think my personal voice, what I always trying to do is make something that's mundane and you don't like doing fun, and I find that really helps well.
Yeah. That's why enjoy life. Why not?
Exactly. We're here for a good time, not a long time, as they say. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's a small world and it's a short life.
Very
Yeah.
good. I like
Right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll probably do a scale on lay, if that's okay. I might do it this week if that's okay.
Oh, you crack
That's
on.
fine. Yeah. Good man, Mark. Yeah. Looking forward to this one now.
Yeah, no, so I was going to do another one, but I was cycling home today, so I got to thinking about this one, and it goes like this. Okay, years ago, when I was in school, I got bullied. Bullied in school, and it did affect me really bad. And I remember I used to get a train with my dad on the weekends, and we go all around the country. We go to Bray, we go to Hout, we go to see all the places, and we have so much fun. And my dad would look at me and say, "What's wrong? What's wrong, Mark?" And I say, just not feel great the way things went in school this week. He says, "You know what to do? Leave that there on the platform, and then look what you'll be able to enjoy today on the train as we go to Bray. We go on all the roller coasters and we have lots of fun. We got fish and chips. Think about this. Think about fun we're gonna have today." And I did. And always remember my favorite thing was to go on trains when I was a kid. The old train, my dad used to call it. And I suppose it's good that you can leave stuff on the platform and enjoy the rest of the journey.
That's great. Thanks very much, Mark.
No,
No problem. Thank you.
very good.
Oh, very well done. Yeah. Great story.
No.
And
Brought me back to my own days.
That's right.
In Bray. Yeah. the
Here's
ghost
an
train.
empowering question for you. So,
Yeah.
earlier today, my vehicle I was driving had broken down, and so I got recovery vehicle came out. So, if you're going to break down, who's going to help you recover?
I like it. Could you say that again, Rich? Just for everybody.
If you break down, who's going to help you recover?
Oh, I love it. Thanks,
Very
Rich. Great stuff. So anything further to say before we wrap it up today? Vinton?
Just the usual. Just if anybody has anything they'd like us to talk about or any questions they'd like to ask on anything we've done on any of the podcasts, if they want to email us on nlpupskillerlife@hotmail.com, or if they want to leave a question on the Facebook page or comment on the YouTube videos, anything like that, absolutely. We'd be delighted to hear from you, and we'd also be delighted to help you out any way we can.
And you can find us on Spotify, Anchor FM, YouTube, Amazon Music, and some other podcasts that I can't record at the moment.
Great stuff, yeah. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would be absolutely brilliant. And so that was episode 14 of the podcast. Thanks a million for your continued support, everybody that's listening and watching on YouTube. And look forward to talking to you in episode 15. So thanks, guys, again for this podcast.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mark. And
okay.
Cheers, Vincent.
Excellent.
Thanks for
Thanks,
listening
Mark.
to all those people who do.
Absolutely.
Talk to you
All
next
around
time.
the world.
Yeah.
And good night. Take care.
Take it easy.